Hi guys and welcome. Today we're going to be making these beautiful paper clip clusters. So they actually are like a page decoration. And we're using the Holtz mini paper dolls. This one's not from the mini paper dolls, but all the rest are. So the theory of this is if you've got a fairly plain page in your journal, you can just simply clip that on like that. And it just adds a little bit of interest or decoration to your page. It may be a page where it's, say, a coffee dyed paper or plain that, you know, you want to save that space for journaling, but this just decorates it a little bit more. And you can do it both ways. So think about what page, you know, in your journal you're going to be putting them on prior to making them. Or if you're like me, I like to have things like this made in advance. So when I'm putting a journal together, I go to a drawer where all my ephemera is and I just pick out a few pieces. So today we're going to be making a couple of each, both ways, that can be used on the left hand page or on the right hand page. So we'll just pop them off to the side and we'll go through all of them when we do a recap at the end of the video. Once we've made a few today, we'll recap all of them for you to get some ideas out of. So just grab some book page and paper clips. So the paper clips I'm using are the 50mm ones. So I'll just grab a few out there. Now, I like the 50mm because they are larger. So a normal paper clip will go to about that size, whereas your 50mm, they're a good size if you're putting decoration on them. There's a side that doesn't have any interruptions, so it's the full side. So you can see there's an end that side and there's an end in the middle. So whichever way you want to do it, so if you're putting it on a right hand side in your journal, you'll have the loops facing towards the left, and if you're putting it on a left hand side page, you'll have your loops pointing to the right. And every time you'll have that large flat side or uninterrupted side down the bottom, because that's where we're going to loop our book page through. And then we just get some book page. So I like to look for writing that has little to no interrupted spaces, like there's a few spaces there, but on a whole it's pretty good. We might even tear in there just to get rid of that one. Now I've got 3 pages together because I know I'm making more than one, and it just saves a bit of time. So just sort of get a little bit of an eyeball measurement on how wide you want it, and you can also trim that down a little bit as well. As long as the piece that you're folding over fits onto your paper clip. So then just pop it through like that, and we're going to be folding that over. Now I'm just going to tear a little bit off because I don't want any of the fold hanging over the edge, because it was sort of like a triangle out when I tore it. And then we're going to glue that down. So on my desk I've got fabric glue. I'll just use that. You can use art glitter, any type of paper craft glue, glue stick. I've got the fabric glue on my desk because I'm going to be working with some lace. Now you can ink the book page before you put on the paper clip or after. It's quite easy to do it after. I'm just going to find my inker. I'll grab another one. So I'm working with walnut stain today. And put my inking tool on there. So it's a Distress Oxide ink, this one, Walnut Stain. It's probably one of my favourites. It's darker than Vintage Photo, but lighter than Ground Espresso, which I absolutely love that too, because it gives a dark, rich, chocolatey. Now I'm going to go all the way down because I reckon we'll get two out of this one. And just to use one of these as a bit of a measure. You can have them as long or as short as you like. So with your paper dolls, they are the ones that will determine how long you go. And I like to have just a little bit above their head and a little bit under, so we know we can tear it off there. Up to you whether you want to do front and back. You don't have to do the back because it will be against your page, but I always like to just finish things off a little bit. Now with that, I like a little bit of texture in the background without taking it away from our focal point, which is our paper doll. So I will start with a little bit of gauze. Now this I got off, it was either AliExpress or Temu, and I was searching texture paper and I come across, and it come in a pack of all different types of mesh and weaves, a few different colors too. And then I'm just going to eyeball the length of it. Now with this gauze, I actually like it to hang out the side a little bit, just to feature it a little bit. And then on top, we'll put a bit of lace. Now, if you don't have this gauze, that's okay, because you can do this just in a fairly heavy lace as well, and just have the one layer. Now, this one here, this lace here, it's actually a curtain that I've coffee dyed, and I picked it up in a sale bin at Spotlight, which is like a craft material shop here in Australia. So I've got absolutely heaps of it. You can imagine the size of a curtain. There's a few meters involved, so I don't want it quite that wide. There we go there. So you can see that the mesh is still hanging out the side there. And then we've got our lace. And on the other side, we want to put something just to add a little bit of extra colour, I guess, or take out some of the neutral tones. And I've got this ticket that I will put down the side there. I don't necessarily want it hanging off the edge, but when I place it, I actually want it below the head. So you can see that, so she still pops. If I had it up beside the head, your eye will go up to this corner. So that's just a little bit of reasoning around how I place my items on this cluster. And then we'll glue it down. Now I've lifted both layers of the mesh and the lace up. Because they're porous, I'll only need to put glue down on the surface and then put them down. Because when we put our paper doll down, we're going to put glue on the back of her. So there'll be another layer of glue that will go down from this side. And then before that dries, we want to ensure that we pop that under there, and then we'll put our paper doll on. Now I'm not inking the paper doll, as you would see. The reason for that, you can ink it, but they've got a glossy finish on them, so the ink doesn't stay on there anyway. It will rub off over a period of time, but you can do if you want to. And then I've been working with circle labels on these ones, just something a little bit different. If you don't have circle labels, you can punch out a circle and then just distress around the outside and stamp a date or a word or something on it. But we want them fairly plain, because we're not really featuring the label, we're featuring the doll. So you can see I've left her foot hanging out from there, so we know that she's a full paper doll. Now with the lace, so we're going to hang a little bit of lace off here with a bulb pin. Now I've used fairly light lace or see-through lace, so this lace here would be too much like what I've already used, in that it's fairly see-through. So I'm opting to go for a thicker lace, which is like this one. That's too wide, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a piece off. So you can adjust the length with this in a minute. And then I'm going to get the glue and I'm going to do an angle of glue across like that. And then I'm going to fold, not all the way down, but just fold it so we get a bit of a triangle look to it. So we'll just press that together. Now I've got a piece hanging out the side there, which I will cut off, and then hold it down. So I already know that's a little bit too long, so I'm just going to snip it back a little bit, because we only want a little piece like that. You know, you can go to the end of your tab that you've used. If your label was up here, you could still hang it off there. It's still going to look as good, but we don't want it too long, and we don't want to add too much more length to it. Not that it matters, I mean, because we're putting it on a page, so a page is going to be a lot longer than that anyway. And then we're just going to glue that down with a bit of fabric glue. If you're using other glue, it may just take a bit longer to dry, so just bear that in mind. Now I'm going to put a little bead on this. Now these are little white turquoise beads, and they've got like a vintage cracked effect in them, and they pair really, really nicely with the neutral tones here. And if you don't have a bead, you could do a charm, or you could simply leave it with just the lace. So just work with what you got, guys. Okay, so that's one done. So pop him off to the side and let's have a look at another one. So I'm just gonna angle off the top of this a little bit more so we don't have to do it after we've put it on. So let's do one the other way. So turning it around so the loops are facing that way, and you've got your main bar down the bottom. Pop that through and fold it over and put a bit of glue on it. And then I'm going to ink it. Not all the way down. This one I might go a bit shorter. It has got that gap there, so I'm going to choose to go a little bit shorter because I do have a shorter paper doll in a sitting position that I will use. And then we get our mesh again. I'm going to hang it out off the edge a little bit. A piece of lace. This one's too long, so I'll cut it off a bit. And then I just want to trim it up the side a little bit. There's that one there. And then we've got our paper doll that's sitting. So it doesn't matter if she comes down over the edge there. And we might use an oval label for her to sit on. And then we possibly need something just up there. Let's try a couple of things because we may change our mind. No, we can certainly add a little bit of colour there, so I'll ink that. Even though we're going to be covering up the writing on this tag label, it doesn't matter because we're really only after the colour. And once again, just leave her head popping over it a little bit. All right, so let's glue that on. I might do this one first. So remember, we've got some hanging out over the edge, so we don't want to put our glue all on top of that. Bring that down a bit. And then some glue for the lace and the mesh. And then our paper doll. And then our label underneath. So while things are still wet, that's the time to place it. And I could have put the label down first, but I just wanted to make sure it was in the right spot. Beautiful. Now we might just put a piece of lace across this way, and then rather than having it hang down, we might put him across there and then put our ball pin off that. So you can see that the different shaped label has sent us in another direction with that, which is perfectly okay because we're still putting all our elements on there. And you know, you could have left it without the lace too. Have some that are a little bit different, because when you're working through your journal, you like to, you know, have different things throughout it. And then ball pin through first. And the reason I do that, so if we're putting a charm on, we might put the charm on and then thread it through so the charm can hang off that end. But this is the straight bar where our bead is going to sit, because our bead won't necessarily go around the looped end depending on the bead. And where you're placing it. So absolutely love that. So pop him off to the side. So you can use the sitting or the standing paper dolls. What have we got over here? All right, we've got two more there. So let's do another two. Let's have this one facing that way. And our book page. So you can sort of see why I like all the writing. So, you know, without any gaps, because we don't want to feature it. If we had, you know, blank spaces there, it will disrupt what we're trying to achieve, which is the paper doll being the focal point of the cluster. So we're going to use this one. And what have we got? This one's a little bit damaged, but we will certainly hide it. We can put the round label over that because we don't want to throw it away. Looks like something has been stuck to it before. And that's the beauty, guys. If you make a mistake in a project, don't throw things away, because you can always use it in something else and cover it up, especially with labels, because, you know, we like to layer our labels a little bit to get, which I will show you what I mean. This one here I've layered, and this one that we're working on too, so you can see that something has stuck there, and when I've pulled it off, it's torn. I already know that we're going to be putting a label down roughly in that area, so we can certainly cover that up without wasting it. Even though it's a digital download and I've printed it and I can reprint it, why? I've used the ink on that. Why redo it if you don't have to? It's the same principle, the 2 layers, and we'll glue them down. And then we'll glue this one down. Don't want it hanging off the edge. I want to feature a little bit of the book page there. And this one here, I might just trim a little bit down that way. All right, so let's pop our paper doll on there. And then let's have a look. I like that one, I think. Because we could always stamp a date on that, which I may do later. So a little bit of this one will be hanging over the edge, so don't put glue on that section, which is that one over there, if you hold it like that. And if we get our lace and do a diagonal glue, because we're going to fold it over and give it a bit of a triangle shape. Like that. Press it down. I'll just cut that tab off. And I've folded it back to cut it because I didn't want to cut that decorative edge in there. And I do want to just snip a little bit off, which I'll do on an angle. Like that. And then we'll glue that one on and then get our bulb pin. So I'm gluing it down a bit because we might stamp a date there. I mean, you could always put a number across there, anything you like, another label. And then we will grab a bulb pin. Just find where I've put them. Ah, here they are. Just off to my side. So I'm working with blacks, silvers, antique bronze. All colours will go. Gunmetal. Pick it up. So we just want to pick up a little bit of the lace. Just enough to get the pin through so it attaches. And then we're going to pop our bead on there. You could use pearls too. Pearls, buttons, charms. It doesn't have to be a bead. Beautiful. Pop that one off to the side. Okay, let's do one more. Let's use this one that we've already inked. And we want to go this side, so we get a couple of each. Double glue on the back. So there's no real measure on how much you need to fold over on these, just enough to catch the glue. And as you can see, the more uneven the better, because they are just acting as a bit of a base on those. I'll just grab some more mesh. Here's one with a little bit of colour in it. I think it's like a very pale green. So you can see it's slightly different, and that adds some beautiful, another element to it as well. Yeah, so if you're out and about, guys, even in the op shops or second-hand places, you'll be able to pick up lace curtains. So remember, anything you can cut down and you'll get it really reasonable, and it saves spending a lot of money on, you know, your big wide laces. Pop him on there. So a bit of colours showing through that, which I love. So don't discount, you know, some of these coloured weaves as well. Like I said, I bought them in a pack. We might have her over the label in this sense, and then we need something with a little bit of colour down the side. Not quite. See if I've got like a label or something. Or something with a bit wider border. Yep, there we go. So once again, we're not featuring that. It's just adding a little bit of pop of colour. She covers up all the other borders, so it just looks like as that one piece there. And then we're going to put the tab just sitting under her like that. So pull those off and pull that off. So we know that we're going to put our label straight down on the background in this case. So when you're sitting down to create little projects like this, especially clusters, have a little bit of everything on your desk. just so you can, you know, put them down, give them a trial, because, you know, we would never have thought that we would use that size on this project, but we're realistically only using that portion of it. And yes, you can cut it off, but there's absolutely no need to cut it off because we're going to be layering over the top. And if a little bit of colour shows through, even better. So once again, because that's so porous, the glue will just come through both layers, and then we put our paper doll over the top. I'm going to center her. I'm bringing her to the edge of the lace, to not have any lace out that side of her, because we've got that writing down there. And then just get rid of the wide edges. These are printable downloads. Now these ones in particular I got from Tracey Fox, and her Etsy shop is Lovejunkjournals. And this particular series, it's called Fill in Random Labels, and as you can see, they've got a little bit of detail on it, but then you can add things to it like dates or signatures, words. They're really, you will use them a lot. And because they're digitals, like I said, once you purchase the digital download, you can print it as many times as you like. So, you know, you outlay a couple of dollars for the download. It's not very expensive. And then you've got a lifetime supply to just keep printing them out as you need them. I like to have a couple of copies printed. So when I buy a download, I'll print it twice initially, and then I'll cut it all out. And then as I run down, I will do that again. So you've just got them on hand at all times. All right, so let's add a little bit of lace to that one. I think I've already got one glued, which I do. So what do we want to do across the bottom? Yep, we might do that one across the bottom as well, because that fold over gives us a nice top border. And then we might even look to put a charm on this one. So take the lace across the bottom like that. And let's see if we've got a nice little key charm. I'm really out of my antique bronze ones. And then we'll pop them on a ball pin. So we'll put the charm on first before we pin it. Loop it through there. And where do we want it? Just off to the bigger side. And there we go with that one. So yeah, like I said, you can put a charm on there, you can put a button, a bead. You don't have to put anything at all, entirely up to you. You can have little dangles off there, bit of chain, more lace. You might have a bit of lace hanging down that way. But, you know, these are a lot of fun, guys. And it's a great way to use up your little mini paper dolls. I find the mini ones are just absolutely cute because they'll go on a cluster. In this case, it's a paper clip cluster. And then we can just add whatever we want to it. If you don't have the mini paper dolls, then you can definitely do butterflies, you know, mushrooms, birds, flowers, whatever you want as your focal point, you can put on there. The backgrounds are fairly neutral, so they're going to go with anything. And then you can add a little bit of colour. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, a label like I've used there. You could perhaps cut a banner out of some pastel cardstock and do it that way. Use up your labels. So I haven't put a ball pin lace or anything on this one. I've just layered some tickets over that just to make it a little bit different. So that's that one there. This one, I've got some pastel green there. We've done the round labels as we've done throughout this video. This one here, very similar to the one we've just done, with just a bit of feature down the bottom. And to balance it out, because this one was quite large in relation to the size of the paper doll, I didn't put the label over this side. To balance it out, I've put it over this side. So your eye still goes to the center, which is your paper doll. That's what we want to feature. This one's not a mini paper doll, so she'd come out of another collection of the Tim Holtz paper dolls. And she was big enough just to hold her own. So I've just put a label on the back, which is out of that same set from Tracey Fox that I just told you about, and I'll try and put the link down the bottom in the description. There was just enough for her to carry herself just with that one label behind. So, you know, you could go through and not put your focal points on and make a heap of these ready to go with just, you know, labels on, and then you put your focal point on. So you could put a butterfly or anything on that. But they're a lot of fun. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and have a go at these. You know, it's a great way to use up some scraps as well. And too, if you've got a surplus of your labels or your paper dolls or butterflies or anything like that, and you want to do something a little bit different, to have something, you know, a little bit different in your journal. I mean, how good is that going to look clipped into a page in your journal? If I just get a plain page here. So that's an A5 size. So if you have a look, it just adds some beautiful texture to your page. If we put this one there, beautiful. You know, it can be clipped on. You might want to make them up the other way and go, you know, down that way and clip them to the top of the page. There's just so much you can do with paper clips, but these are just a little bit of fun, and, you know, they've got a real vintage feel to them. But thanks, guys. Thanks for spending some time with me today, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thank you. Bye.